Adjectives are words that modify nouns or pronouns. They're very important in writing because they can tell you exactly what type of noun you have. I could say hat. You don't know what type of hat. The teacher wore a hat. You all are probably thinking something completely different, and you won't know what type of a hat it is until I add in adjectives. Start thinking right now about the type of hat I might wear. What are you imagining? Now, I'll give you a sentence that adds in some adjectives and some phrases that act like adjectives to describe the hat. The teacher wore a fuzzy red Santa hat with a pom-pom on the end. Now you know what type of hat to imagine. The teacher wore a hat. The teacher wore an oversized black knitted hat. Is this what you were picturing when you heard those words? Those adjectives, oversized, black, knitted, are all adjectives that describe the hat, and they help you imagine what the hat is like. And that's what you want when you're a writer. You want your reader to be able to picture what you're talking about. Adjectives can also be used to compare one thing to another. These are trees. Trees is the noun. Let's add an adjective. These are miniature trees. What type of trees? Miniature trees. I could say these are fake trees. The words miniature and fake are adjectives describing the noun trees. But what if I want to compare them with each other? This tree is bigger than this tree. I could say this tree is big. It is bigger than this tree. When I compare two adjectives, I am using a comparative adjective. Usually they end in ER or the word more, and I am comparing two things. This is the bigger tree. This is the smaller tree. If I compare more than two things, it's called superlative, and I use EST or the word most. This tree is the smallest tree. This tree is the biggest tree. A few adjectives are irregular. I could say this is a good quote, but I don't say this is the goodest quote. Goodest isn't a word. Instead, I say this is the best quote. Good, better, best. This title has several adjectives. Terrible is an adjective. True is an adjective. Awful is an adjective. And American is an adjective. American is a special adjective called a proper adjective. It is formed from a proper noun, and we capitalize it. What type of history? American history. Now, if I wanted to turn these into comparative and superlative adjectives, true, truer, truest. Although that doesn't really make a lot of sense, because if something's true, it can't be more true. What about this? Do I say terribler? No, I would say more terrible and most terrible. Remember, when I compare two things, I use more or the ER ending. Which book do you think is more interesting? If I'm comparing a book with all other books, I could say, which book is the most interesting book you've ever read? Can you find the adjectives on this title? What type of attacks? Attacks is a noun here. Real life attacks. That's an adjective. Animal attacks. That's an adjective. Now, you might say, isn't that a noun? Isn't animal a noun? Well, it is in some sentences, but in this sentence, because it's telling what type of attacks, it is actually acting like an adjective. And then down here, what type of bears? Deadly bears. Deadly is the adjective. There are lots of different types of adjectives too. We'll learn more about those in our next video.